Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ajua. In this video, it's all about nuts. Nuts are not widely used in a lot of fragrances I have personally come across. I know a lot of people are used to a lot of, variety of nuts, including the pistachio, almond, walnut, hazelnut, a lot of them. But I'm sort of a bit new to nutty fragrances in terms of my fragrance range. I'm now getting much more into them and I'm loving them. They are quite different from the vanillas and the florals and other, notes we are always used to. But I like how a lot of the nutty, the nuts note has been incorporated into these 11 fragrances I want to share with you. If you're on the hunt for nutty fragrances, here is a place you can learn a thing or two. So I have a number of them, and I've realized that a lot of nutty fragrance, especially the note of almond, pairs beautifully with orange blossom. Most of the fragrances that has almond in this list are paired with orange blossom and then vanilla. I think they pair so well, so you find that it's like a common theme among a lot of almondy nutty fragrances to be paired with orange blossom or vanilla. And the first fragrance I have here is paired with almond, a bitter almond, some orange blossom, and some tonka. And this is going to be Shaga UT Tonka, which is like a bitter almond scent. It is not like a sweet, sweet milky almond. Sometimes almond come across as milky, whilst others come across as a bit waxy or a straight up, bitter or sweet almond. This is a bitter almond, the heavy presence of tonka, which also translates into something like vanillic, praline like, with that orange blossom. The orange blossom is quite shy here. It is not the center of attention. It is all about the bitter almonds. But this one macerates beautifully. It macerates and becomes much more sweeter. Although the almond still remains a bit bitter, it becomes much more sweeter after a couple of months, So this is a very good one that I think a lot of us are used to. It's one of the few almond fragrances I have bitter almond that I really it really resonates with me. I like how it is done here. It is a thick, rich resonance almond. It is not waxy. It is not a milky almond scent. It is more of a bitter almond scent with the heavy presence of the tonka and then that orange blossom. That is essentially what it is. So Shaga UT Tonka from Swiss Arabian is a heavy almond fragrance that you might want to check. The next heavy nutty fragrance, this is not almond, but it is not even this is more of a seed, sesame seed, which translates into a very creamy nutty nuance or vibe to me. This is going to be from Jinci LRA Intense, which has the note of tuberose and then sesame seed, and that sesame seed gives off a very almondy dark twist to it. It is more of a dark twist of an almond, not almond, but a sesame seed with the creamy tuberose. And this, of course, has orange blossom. This one has orange blossom. A very beautiful one. I know a lot of us are used to Faka Rose from Latafa. It is not too far from it. Just that this one has the note of sesame seed, which gives it a much more heavy, nutty nuance. That nutty nuance here feels very rich and intense and resonant and a bit dark and sultry, very beautiful. It doesn't necessarily give me daytime vibes, although you can wear it during the day. If you get the the EDP, that is most likely going to give you a daytime feel, but it doesn't have the sesame seed, which is like nutty. This one has that nutty, creamy, heavy tuberose and then orange blossom and then that presence of sesame seeds, which makes it very sultry, beautiful, and grown, and like very nutty and creamy. So I would highly recommend that you check this one out. I mean, this one has been out for like years, and I'm sure a lot of us have this one at this point. Jinci LRA Intense, very beautiful sesame, but not like a nut per se, but that sesame translates into something very nutty, very nutty. The third one I'm going to speak about is going to be from Latafa, and this is going to be your chestnut. It doesn't, the note structure for this doesn't include chestnut, but you really get that chestnutty vibe mixed with vanilla. This one is more of a vanilla chestnutty smoky nuance, especially at a dry down. You get that nutty, sultry, silky vibe of the chestnut. You know, there's something nutty about it. I think it took inspiration from Replicas by the Fireplace, which a lot of people know contains the note of chestnut, whereas this one does not. But you still get that sort of nutty nuance about it, especially at a dry down. It feels like a bit waxy. There's a bit of a waxy quality to it. You know, the chestnut feel a bit of a waxy feel to it, you know, with the sultry, heavy, clean, delicious vanilla here, and that sugary aspect about it with the hint of that smoky nuance. A very beautiful one. It's going to give you a very creamy, nutty dry down, you know, maybe not the beginning, but when you let this one dry down after like 30-45 minutes, you begin to really appreciate that sort of, you know, nutty chestnutty vibe in this one. So LFA Oud Intense from Lattafa, I would highly recommend. The next one I'm going to go with is going to be a fragrance that doesn't also have the note of anything nuts, you know, no pistachio, no almond, no nothing. It is more of a, you know, a green vibe, but it's very nutty and creamy and a bit waxy. And this is going to be Nadine, you know, from Our Tanya, which I have always likened to Memo Paris's Sintra. This one smells exactly like Sintra, with that petty green neroli vibes, but there is something about this fragrance, you know, there's no seed, there's no nut in it, you know, but there's something about this that gives me a very heavy, creamy, waxy sort of, you know, nutty vibe. It somehow even gives me something like ground nut, you know, like roasted ground nut. I don't know if anybody has this fragrance and the person can attest or, you know, maybe confirm what I think. It gives me something like a ground nutty sort of feel. There's something that reminds me about big groundnuts, you know, there's something nutty and it's quite heavy about it, you know. I don't know where it is coming from because there's no structure for this one. Even it's just like ylang patchouli and some, you know, florals, whereas the original one has petty green and neroli and others, you know. So it is quite different. It's quite surprising how the whole thing comes together and gives me particular, you know, a nutty vibe. There's a definite nutty nuance about this, you know. So check this one out. Our Tanya's Nadine. The next one I will obviously have to add to this list is going to be from Paris Corner, Bayan Ashra, which has the note of hazelnut, you know. This is more of a woody hazelnut and then a rose scent, you know. It has a heavy presence of a rose, but it is like, you know, we all know it is like a watered down version of the OG guidance. And I think to my nose, this one feels more like the Guidance 46, you know. That is like a much more watered down sort of, you know, version of the OG Guidance, and that is what this one gives me. It gives me like a sort of, you know, watered down or more of the Guidance 46 than the OG Guidance by itself, you know, after testing the two fragrances together with this. This is a very beautiful one. It has this woody, nutty, waxy feel about it, you know. It's all about the rose, the pear, the hazelnut, but it's more all about the akigala wood, the hazelnut, you know, which I very much get in this one, although not as intense as the one I get in the OG Guidance or even the Guidance 46, you know, but it's still there. So hazelnut, you're going to get it from here. The next one I'm going to go with is not a heavy nutty feel, although it has the note of almond and I think some suede. It is more of a suede, you know, heavy fragrance with some caramel. Teriyaki from Lattafa. This is more of a watered down almond scent. It is not going to give you a heavy presence of an almond scent, you know, although it has a note of almond. It is not as creamy, it is not as heavy. It is more of a suede caramel feel to me, you know, more than any other thing. And then apricots, but I still get that creamy nuance almondy, you know, touch at the end of the day. It is still there. It is not a very sweet, heavy almond presence, but the almond at a dry down, you know, at a dry down, you get that waxy almondy, not the almond milk, not almond milk, nothing cookie dough, play dough-ish, no, this one doesn't give me play dough vibes at all. The almond here is like a straight up sweet almond, but the suede and apricot and the other caramel sort of overshadows the almond in this one, although it is still there. So that is going to be Terra from Latafa. And the next heavy almond fragrance, this one has almond milk and then almond and then orange blossom and I think vanilla. It has everything delicious and gourmand. Girl of Now by Elie Saab. This is a very beautiful, realistic almond scent. It even has pistachio, it even has the note of pistachio. So imagine pistachio with double doses of almond, almond milk, and then that the nut almond itself. It's a very beautiful one with the heavy presence of that orange blossom. It's a classic almond orange blossom fragrance. Girl of Now by Elie Saab, the OG, not any of the flankers. This is the OG. It's very beautiful, sweet, very thick, rich, and resonant. The almond here feels very realistic. Of all the fragrances I think that I'm talking about today, it's the one with the most realistic almond feel, among all the fragrances I'm talking about. It's like very heavy in the almond, with the milk, the almond milk, the orange blossom, I think the vanilla, if I'm not mistaken. I think there is vanilla and then the almond by itself with other delicious gourmand one. So a realistic almond scent. Girl of Now by Elie Saab is the way to go. I'll go with a milky, hearty, comforting almond milk scent, and that is going to be Vaux Patisserie from Paris Corner. This is a very beautiful, warm almond milk feel. It feels like a very warm almond milk, eating that, with like some lightweight biscuits, nothing heavy. It feels very hearty, very comforting. You're going to get your milky almond note in this. You're going to get your dry almond note in this one. And the almond here feels very sweet. It is sweet without being sickeningly sweet. In my opinion, it is a very sweet, lactonic, rich, dense, intense one. It comes across as very feminine leaning. It is not masculine, as a lot of the fragrances I've already spoken about. Most of them are unisex, leaning fragrances, but some of them can, even Terrier can be a little masculine leaning depending on who is wearing it. This one is like ultra feminine, dainty, but also dense and intense at the same time, with a very heavy almond milk presence, and that is going to be Vaux Patisserie from Paris Corner. I'm going to talk about one that I don't have here, but I still have it in my collection, and that is going to be the note of macadamia. And the most realistic macadamia scent I have ever come across, hands down, Charosta 71 by Sol de Janeiro. When I tasted macadamia for the first time, I was like, am I drinking, Charosta 71? It tastes exactly like how Charosta 71, smells like. No difference, especially when it is like freshly roasted, with a sprinkle of salt around it. Very beautiful, thick, waxy feel, that sort of waxy macadamia, very nutty with that, when you bite into it, you bite into something like a bit of an oily feel. That is exactly how it tastes. And the smell of Charosta 71 gives me exactly how the OG macadamia, especially when it is roasted and sprinkled with the hit of salt, it's the same thing. It's very realistic one, so I'll highly recommend. I mean, we already know about that, so it's heavy, very heavy, realistic macadamia, sea salt sort of feel. Very, very beautiful, and that is going to be Charosta 71. And I think the last one I have in this list, not the last one, the last but one, is going to be a fragrance I don't have with me currently, but I have tried and tested, Bint Huran from Ad Azafran, which is likened to Good Girl from Carolina Herrera. And Bint Huran gives you a sweet almondy feel with the cocoa and that vanilla feel of Good Girl. It's like a slightly watered down, less complicated version of Good Girl, but it's still going to give you the same exact feel of Good Girl with that slight sultry sweet almondy, you know, nuance. It's not heavy. The almond is not super heavy in Binturan, but it is still there, you know, which gives it like a sultry sexy vibe. You know, that is how it translates to me. It is not it's not going to be your dominant note, you know. It is not the most dominant or the most prominent, but it blends in beautifully. So Binturan is an almond, you know, dominant fragrance without being like the main dominant note. So check out Binturan if you are looking for something of a sultry, less intense almond scent, like a sweet almond one. Served from Latafa. It has almond. I think it has some lactonic nuance. The lactonic, you know, nuance and what I perceive as a suede like dry down sort of overshadows the almond here, but it is still there. Very beautiful. It is a very creamy, waxy, resonant almond scent, you know. The suede sort of overtakes it, especially at the dry down. That lactonic nuance I get, you know, a bit of a smoky nuance I get, you know, they are all there, but you still get that waxy sort of, you know, almondy feel with this one. It's very beautiful. It's very, oh, I think this one came off the lid came off, so yeah, okay, it's off now, but that is how the bottle looks like. A very beautiful one, you know. The almond here is not super sweet. It is not a bitter almond like Shaga UT Tonka too. It is not bitter, but it is not overly sweet too. It is more about the vanilla, the suede that I perceive at the dry down, and then the almond, you know. It is more about a heavy beautiful sultry vanilla, and then, you know, a hint of the almond. The last fragrance I want to talk about in this video is going to be an almond heavy fragrance known as Perfect Intense by Marc Jacobs, and this I equally have a dupe of it, you know, or inspired by version from Alhambra Precious Gold. There is also Yara Moi, also inspired by this fragrance. The three fragrances have a heavy presence of, you know, almond here with some florals. I think it has the notes of narcissus, and it's one of those few examples where I like how narcissus is incorporated into a fragrance. It has the narcissus, some vanilla, and then a heavy presence of almond. If you want to go with the, you know, Middle Eastern or inspired by or dupe way, you can go with Alhambra's Precious Gold. It is like almost a one-to-one, you know, interpretation of this. It is a good one, you know. I like Yara Moi too, but there's something about it which can throw you off a bit. But Precious Gold from Alhambra is a good one, and this Perfect Intense is going to give you a heavy presence of almond, like a very sweet but not like sickeningly sweet almond with that narcissus and I think some vanilla, if I'm not mistaken. So these are the 11 fragrances I wanted to bring to your attention, which are like gourmand, almond, pistachio, hazelnuts. Like it's all about nuts, you know, waxy, milky, almondy feel, you know, anything to do with nuts that I have in my collection that I enjoy. I just wanted to share in this particular video, and that is going to be it for today. And I hope this video found you well. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in my next one. Take care. Bye bye.